The following video contains electronic voice phenomena, EVP murmuring, which some may find disturbing. The first half of the video is this historical structure Hunting captures, whereas the second half of the content is the murmuring as captured. As murmuring is voices at a low pitch and volume, it is recommended that in listening the viewer reduce the bass and increase the treble tone and volume. EVP murmuring is dialogue between living individuals, whereas those persons are now deceased. EVP murmurs are voices and communications that may be the result of events embedded in the fabric of time and space due to some kind of induced trauma. Events depicted in this video may have been criminal in nature at the time of occurrence. Stand-Yan Paranormal holds no responsibility for acts that may be depicted. We do not know if they actually occurred or was just role-play acting for an initiation. Viewer discretion is advised. Lester Ben Binion was born on November 20th, 1904 in Pilot Grove near Dallas, Texas. He had no formal education. He was pretty much illiterate, rose to the rank of mobster in Dallas, Texas. By the time he left the Dallas area and came to Las Vegas, he had already been convicted of 2 murders. One of them, an African-American male, for which he only got a 2-year suspended sentence. There were a bunch of other murders that he was suspected of, but they could never put together. In 1946, he fled the Dallas area for Las Vegas, and in 1951 purchased the Apache Hotel. This hotel. Rebuilt it into what it is today, including this hidden suite which we are now occupying. Room 400. Although he was banned from carrying a firearm because of his convictions for murder, he always carried a handgun and was known to carry a sawed-off shotgun. Had it in a room, this room. Hotel now bills this as Benny Binion's suite. It implies that he slept here, showered, and shaved here, and my sources tell me that, except for maybe an occasional catnap, and to count his money, that was not so. His business office for the public was in a small booth and part of the restaurant downstairs. This room was for, let's say, special occasions. Picture here is courtesy of Wikimedia Commons. He would die of heart failure in Las Vegas on Christmas Day in 1989. If these walls could only talk. And lucky for us, they do. We're on the 3rd floor. I'm going down the hallway to go up to our room, which is the stairway here. Goes upstairs to room 400. This room is unmarked, concealed from the public view. Double stairway. That one.
What's this?
I don't know. What that door is the now entrance to Benny Binion's hidden count room. The locked door leads to the physical plant where the heating and cooling for the hotel is now regulated. The room key to the hotel actually says that it's a haunted hotel. It's the first hotel that we found that wanted to advertise that. Usually they shy away from this.
Is that it? Where's the blankets?
Upon entry, the room had not been made up. There was no blanket or sheets on the bed. I don't expect you to have a blanket. There's the secret door that goes through the count room. This little door under the bathroom sink leads to the back hallways of the hidden count room. It is known historically that Binion used the children of his employees to count out the cash. It appears to be just large enough for a child to be able to get through without being able to stuff his pockets with something. We expected when we checked in that we would have access to these back corridors, but we were informed that that would not be so. That they had never been completed properly and they were a hazard to the public. If you scour YouTube for the Apache Hotel, you will find several videos of people that managed to get into and photograph this area. Mostly they were media personalities. My question to the front desk when we checked in was, how come this area was never finished off? I mean, I can understand that there's a certain amount of cost to it, but they're also taking in a lot of money with the promise of a unique experience. With that, the woman at the front desk that checked us in just shrugged her shoulders. Because we didn't have access to set up a camera and a microphone in there, any noises that we might hear coming through that wall have to be immediately discounted as possibly being faked. Because it leads to the physical heating and cooling plant, it means that there must be another entrance somewhere. Employees, even security, could possibly sneak up in there and rap on the back of the wall in the middle of the night to provide that experience we were looking for. Should you follow our lead and stay in this room, you should also be aware of that. Not everything that you might hear coming through that wall is necessarily a spirit. Well, nothing unusual out of place, right?
Huh?
Nothing unusual or out of place.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what's out of place. We haven't been here before.
Well, Binion's room was here. I guess, and it is just a guess, that at the time that Benny Binion had this room, that door to the outside physical plant was not there. Access was probably on this closet to the left as you enter the room.
Comfortable.
That's another door there. The closet directly across from this closet, which is the one on the immediate right as you enter the room, has another secret door, which was supposedly one for Benny Binion to escape should feds be coming up the stairway after him. It is high enough up on the wall that it would require a step stool of some kind to get to. And even though now screwed shut for guest safety, when you're outside you can look up and you can see that it falls directly onto the stairwell. Other than a trained acrobat, no human could jump out of this door and land on that uneven surface without breaking a leg. That's the window that Benny Binion would have to jump out of in case the feds were coming up the stairs. Look at the drop on that. He wouldn't have made it without breaking a leg, I guarantee you, especially landing on an uneven surface. Again, this would imply that the layout has been altered. That at the time it was built, there were no stairwells as we see today. Most likely there was a catwalk out there. Just our opinion based upon what we see. Well, as far as a suite's concerned, not much of a suite, you know. In fact, by accepted definition, it is not a suite at all. A suite has more than one room, usually a sitting room with a couch and a TV, something of that nature.
Well, there's a fridge. Look.
There's a fridge.
That's and a microwave. That's a treat.
Yeah, I guess.
And a Keurig. For being
Hallways are back there. I don't know how I used to get to them. Probably through that door that is locked. That was the count room back there. Well, you gonna stay up here? I have to go down before the office closes and get sheets and pillowcases. I called and they did bring up sheets and pillowcases. They also explained that housekeeping was gone for the day, so they just gave them to us in a bundle. We got to make our own bed in this high-end hotel. Not that we don't know how to make beds, because we do. It just was an unusual experience that we never had to do before. They also brought up for our inspection is their Ghost Hunters kit, which, in all fairness, I had declined when we checked in. But since they were coming up with the sheets, they might as well bring that ahead, too. After we made the bed and set our equipment up, we took a look at it. The Hotel Apache usually tries to play up their haunted status. This is their Ghost Hunt, Ghost Box kit. And I open it up, and you actually have, you have some instructions, and you have some batteries, and you have some kind of an EMF thing. I don't even know who makes that or where it comes from. You have the original S-Box, which puts out by Ghost Stop. That's probably where the other stuff comes from. And this here comes ghost hunting equipment from Ghost Stop. Everything's from Ghost Stop, so they're buying this as a kit. Kind of anemic compared to what we're running over here. I prefer ours. After setup, we went down to meet a guest.
if it's just a film.
Yeah, I think it is.
It's a film. It didn't talk.
Well, I think it talks when it lands, not when you're going in. The elevator lands right in the casino. We came down to hook up with another investigator, Alan R. Alan used to do the ghost walk around downtown Las Vegas, but that walk has now closed down. Here is a short example of one of his tours.
Benny Binions is a member of the National Historical Registry. They cannot do a lot of modification to it because of that. They cannot do modification here. Now, what's known in Nevada, the mob buried people stand everywhere, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Everywhere. Especially out by Sunrise Mountain and up in Pahrump.
Lake Mead.
Yep. They're
Lake
still
Mead,
finding
yeah.
bodies at barrels up Lake Mead. Yeah. And did the research to corroborate what we were saying, and that's how they came up
Since Alan put the bug in our ear to do the hunt, we felt he should be part of it. As he stepped into the room, I showed him the secret closet hatch where one could catapult themselves down to the stairs below. He has not been in this room before, but he agreed with me that from the descriptions that he had that it has been remodified. We would spend the next 3 to 4 hours swapping mob stories back and forth. That's a big part of the experience, is the camaraderie amongst investigators. Alan had asked me in the past to see Boo Buddy.
So, here's Boo Buddy.
Boo Buddy is an interactive EVP-type teddy bear put out by Ghost Stop, the same people that are making the kit that the Apache uses for the rooms. In our opinion, it's an expensive toy.
They warn you that. Don't try to take this apart. And everybody's like, why did you leave the tag on? You know, like, the kids come in and first thing they want to do, I want to take the tag. No, you're not. Because when I fly and this goes through TSA, the first thing they see is something with a lot of wires. Right?
Too bad with the wires.
You know, and they can at least look at that and get an idea that it's probably not a bomb. You know, otherwise we're going to get, you know.
I wouldn't think of that, but yeah, I guess so.
Here's the scoop on the Boo Buddy. It can detect EMF, vibration, and temperature change. In our particular unit, the EMF detection is very slow to respond. A K2 is even better. The temperature detection is good. The vibration detection is very good. If you touch one of its paws, it will say something like, I like holding hands with you. This is what we wanted, to let it run while we slept, and if something touched it, it would wake us up and alert us. But the dang thing never shuts off. In a dozen hunts, we have never recorded a single response.
What is that?
That's a bottle opener.
For what?
Some Ghost Stop. We're buying that from.
Souvenir for me?
Yeah, you want it?
I do.
I guess after you
I'll
play
hang
with
that
this
on
and you pissed off, you're gonna go out and drink, and like, I just spent $300 on nothing. You know, yeah, well here's a can opener to open up a bottle for you, you know?
Hi, I'm Boo Buddy. What's your name?
That's Alan. I'm Stan. That's Jen. Okay? Okay, let's not get carried
Did
away.
you say something?
No, nothing.
Please say it again.
Boo Buddy?
Yes. I got enough charge. You can't move it.
Aw, thanks. I like holding hands with you.
You do it, that's amazing. That's the best part. And if it would just shut up while we slept, I would just give it a 100% rating.
One, two, three, four.
Talking to the spirit, he's trying to
Did you make it warm in here?
still warm now.
Smell it when you went in? Cigarette smoke?
What?
Cigarette smoke in there, yeah. I thought it was probably that.
Both Alan and myself smelled cigarette smoke in the bathroom near where a sliding door goes into the wall. But that doesn't mean it's paranormal. It doesn't mean that the workers aren't up here copping a smoke on their break, even though it's a fire hazard to do so. There's no one around to catch them.
My wife used to smell cigarette smoke.
Where?
In our house in Michigan.
Uh-huh.
And
You got warm.
she had refinished the screen door at an 1850s house.
That means there's been temperature change. If you turn that on, yeah, go ahead.
1850s house. We did a screen door, and she would smell cigarette smoke.
Where are you going?
We're gonna go explore those, be honest, do all those. We don't wanna go there. You know, right here in Michigan, we're on track. I think this is what I look for here. Alright, so, that's cool. Alright.
So you ran this place too?
You want to hold my hand?
Yeah, and I worked there. That was my second break-in house before Mel bought it, when Mel bought it, so. Alright, yeah,
Bye.
do that.
Fun.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Middle of those doors.
They've redone it fairly nice. I think there's anyone staying in here. Just us and maybe a couple other people. You want in that room? You could probably call one of the rooms you want to stay. It's like $45 a night.
So one of the security guards said that he saw an apparition come through the wall, go into another room, and then he heard like 30s music.
Right. Yeah, I saw that tape. The hotel has put little placards near the doors of reported guest paranormal activity. The latch on the bathroom cabinet kept opening no matter how many times we locked it. 60? Most of them could be easily explained by anyone who's done this before. About 2 a.m. I heard noises in the hallway. When I looked out, I thought I saw a faint silhouette of a lady, but then it was gone. A little lesson here on showing Alan how to use the K2. He's a great paranormal lecture guide, but he doesn't really carry much equipment with him on his lectures. Yeah. That's still steady. I was sleeping, I thought I heard the TV going, I woke up to look, but it was not on. Well, if you were sleeping, that's what happens. My parking pass disappeared and then reappeared. My lotion emptied itself on the nightstand in the bed. Felt like I was spinning the hallways. Upon entering my room from the
other side.
All the bed pillows were on the floor. 363. What was the other one? It was 363 upstairs. This is probably where that comes out at. Yeah. That's where it comes out at. Comes down to the second floor only. That glass door is right up there. This must have gone down at one time. That alcove wouldn't be there. They would have put it in a room. Or Dylan in a room. Opinion security officer heard someone yelling, telling him to get away. I'm guessing there was no one in the room. One thing I'd like to say, even though it sounds like a cliche, is that I've been to the Timberline Lodge up on Mount Hood, where the outside of the movie The Shining was filmed, and we did an extensive hunt at the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, where Stephen King had a winter experience which caused him to write the book. For our part, these hallways fit the token of the movie, and we've done well over 200 hotel hunts. People were arguing in the next room, but front desk confirmed that the room was vacant. Should have pounded on the wall. Two can play this ghostly game.
Yeah, they were real excited. I guess they found this.
Found the what?
The schematic for the hotel.
This is dipped. They always show this on the cameras, that the floor isn't even. I think it's just where they had built it over the top of the casino. And we bid Alan a good night. Having experienced thus far no activity at all. No EMF detectors, no REM pods going off. It was my guess that this room was clear. But then at 2:48 a.m., something fell in the room. It was so loud that it woke both of us up at the same time.
Sure sound like something fell over.
Yeah.
Sound like it was more like in the bathroom, maybe, huh?
Sounds like that.
So that was my flashlight dropped in the thing.
Huh?
My flashlight dropped the flashlight in the thing.
Yeah, it sounds like that. Something fell.
No, I don't see anything falling. There's nothing falling. That one container. That was it.
Last night we had at least one thing happen. We had, well, one of the REM pods went off briefly this morning, but last night we had something fell on the floor is what it sounded like, and we couldn't figure out what it was. I searched the whole room trying to find out what could have made the sound. Well, both of us up right out of a sound sleep, and what we determined in the morning was that it is this connection right here, and it had pulled out and it had fallen against the side of the refrigerator. That's it. That's what we heard. So we've narrowed that down. The question is how did it manage to pull itself out? We don't know. I don't think any of the cameras caught it. Perhaps maybe the one over here on the nightstand might have caught it. We'll have to play it back and find out. And once at home and decoding the captures, we found out that that theory was incorrect. You can see the cable right here, and it doesn't move as the noise occurs. We now know there is nothing in the room that made this sound, so it's time to take it down to the home front and start breaking it down according to the rules of EVP murmuring. After dropping the speed of the recorded evidence down to 10% or less, we have this timeline that evolved, and right in the center is what we believe is the sound that woke us up. Here it is. We're not certain what that is. It's something that made a large noise. It could be a firearm with a silencer. Kind of sounds like that. Or it could be a bat, something of that nature. Whatever it is, it does not sound like it's welcoming. It was loud enough that it woke both of us up out of a sound sleep. Here is that clip in its entirety. This is what an EVP murmur sounds like to people who live in haunted houses before we render them out. Only that possible gunshot has been rendered out. If you are living in a haunted structure, you might be hearing this in the middle of the night. The second night of the investigation, we had another guest come up to the room, Ray, who is not an investigator, but a personal friend, and just wanted to check out the equipment and see if something would trigger something. We don't mind sharing with other people at all. Sometimes a fresh face in a room can be the difference between triggering something. There have been times that we've gone on a hunt in a very famous location and opened the door to our room only to find there are people sitting in the hallway outside, hoping to get a glimpse inside of the room. And we don't mind letting them come in and taking a look around.
Behind this door is the counter. That's where they will listen.
And of course the same tour was given to Ray as was given to Alan the night before, and we're not going to repeat that here. The only thing different is that Ray is not familiar with any of the equipment, so I explained to him what the REM pod did and how it was designed, and that would prove to be important because it wasn't very much time after that we actually got our first valid hit on the REM pod.
REM pods around here, this is the main device that we use. Radiated electromagnetic field. When you get close to it, it'll tell you that you're close to it.
The original design was made by Russian inventor Lev Terman, better known in the United States as Leon Theremin. It originally had two antennas, one for pitch, one for volume. It produced an electromagnetic field that, when it came into contact with another electromagnetic field, would produce a tone. Humans, as well as ghosts, produce that field. It was used on stage by Simon and Garfunkel in their last performance of The Boxer. Oh, Theremin was also a KGB spy, but we won't hold that against him. He was just misguided.
So he can vary his hands back and forth to get it to play music. So when Gary Galka came along, he said,
how was that same device?
this is a takeoff truck. The Theremin actually has 2 antennas and they're very tall. And it's got a keyboard. And basically the person stands there and he rubs his hand along the antennas. Depending upon where he hits the antenna, he spins the pitch. And the other one is the volume. So he can vary the volume and the pitch, and you can see him moving his hands like this, and there's just 2 antennas. And that was what Theremin invented in the early 1900s. Gary Galka come along, and he said, hey, if we can get this to react, because we have an electromagnetic field, we have magnetism going through our system. If we can get it to react so that we can get it to do this, and we know that ghosts, or some of us, maybe ghosts also produce this field and do the right to do. So these are the main things that we use, and I have 2 of them set up right here. I have a third one. It's kind of busted up.
Will insects will stay kind of...
No, if you put anything to it that doesn't have a field, it won't do anything. But if you grab it, you'll ground it out. Doesn't like that. So I tell people when I'm showing it to young people and stuff, I say, kids, you can put your hands next to it. It has to have an electromagnetic field to react to it. Wood won't do it. Metal won't do it.
An insect doesn't have an electric.
A dog will.
A dog will.
A dog will.
Yeah.
Yes, a dog will have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything that has...
Cell phone will do it.
Yeah, cell phone will do it. If that's the field.
Yeah.
You gotta keep your cell phone. You gotta learn how to use the equipment over time.
Yeah.
And what you can do and what you can't do. At the Alto Bar in the Grand Canyon, after we left the room, and I had put a fresh 9-volt battery, which is the regular, that's what they use, little radio batteries. Put a fresh battery in it, and right after we left the room, we were gone for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Something set on the unit, and it drained that battery in 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Took that battery completely out in 3 minutes and 10 seconds. They eat electricity. They eat magnetism and electricity. That's something that they consider to be sustenance. So when they run into it, usually they'll do a flyby and they'll set it off, and then they'll come back. When you find something that works, stick with it. Don't go off on the next tangent that somebody invented something new and they're telling you it's new and improved. You've got something that's good. You've got an old truck workhorse there, and they don't fail.
An hour later, as Ray gets ready to depart, the REM pod on the table next to him goes off, as if to say, farewell.
Hey, there you go. You want to go with it?
Oh, you think it was the sound?
I thought it was reacting to Ray's cell phone, which does put out an EMF field, but when we moved back, it didn't stop.
Maybe it's not.
My next guess was that the 9-volt battery was running down.
Like his phone? No, that's a good little hit there. Whoa.
On these REM pod units, the battery will last just about 8 hours. And once the source of power diminishes, the field will collapse upon itself, and the unit itself will sense its own collapsing field. As the battery runs out, the sound will get weaker and weaker and finally diminish completely. It takes about 2 minutes for a depleted battery to drain out. With these REM pod units, a good rule of thumb is to change the battery just as you go to bed. That way you won't be woke up in the middle of the night as the field starts running out.
Yeah, good game, yeah. Thanks for having me. All right, appreciate it.
At 7:05 on the morning that we will be leaving, another loud bump wakes me up a second time. But if we go back, zoom in, and focus on the door, we can see a shadow crossing the floor underneath the door as that bump occurs. Now, that's exactly what I would expect to see with an element of human contamination. That shadow demonstrates that something physical, human, walked that hallway and entered that door into that back restricted area that we're not allowed to have access to. Security, maintenance, somebody opened the door to go in and check on whatever they've got back there, boilers, air conditioning, whatever. And that is the extent of what we would have considered evidence coming from this room. A couple of hits with a REM pod, a couple of hits with a cell sensor. By our own rating system, we have to get some kind of activity each 24-hour period for it to even be registered as a haunted structure. And we did get it, but it was fairly weak. We would have rated the activity level of room 400 as light but consistent. But that was then, and this is now, after analyzing what sounded like a gunshot. Slowing it down gave us a unique view a new perspective. And here is our unique view. What you're listening to is an EVP murmur. This particular murmur came out of what we heard as a gunshot from the Apache Hotel. The gunshot itself is much slower and cannot be isolated in this particular clip. This is what new homeowners sometimes hear when they accidentally purchase what could be termed a haunted structure or haunted house. They hear what sounds like muddled voices coming through the walls of the structure, usually from a room that's unoccupied, basement, attic. And usually they start hearing it just before they put the home up for sale. Almost appears as though the two are connected. If you find yourself intrigued by these captures and maybe want to try to do it yourself someday, I will reveal a little bit about how you can get a start. The video captures and rendering are Adobe elements. We always use Adobe whenever we can. Whereas for the audio rendering of the captures themselves, we tried a combination of 3 different programs. Adobe Audition, which is a fairly complicated and expensive program. NCH WavePad, an Australian program. You still have to buy that one, but it's certainly not as expensive as the Adobe is. And what you're listening to right here is Audacity. Audacity is freeware available on the internet, and even though it doesn't have as many bells and whistles as something like Adobe has, it's got enough to render this clip that you're listening to right now. However, no matter what programs you use or attempt to use, we made the capture on March 27th of this year, and we're just now going into December. That's how long it takes to do this rendering. We lost the entire work more than once and had to start over. It was certainly more complicated than the Scottish Rite House of the Temple in Washington, D.C. and their EVP murmurs, which we worked on last year. In the following scenarios, we have coded red what we believe was the main mob boss, whether Vinnie Binion or not can't be determined. Lower rank of mobsters we have coded yellow, and the person being inducted or interrogated is coded in green. This color coding follows our traffic light patterns and should provide ease of recall. Your opinion may vary based upon your listening skills. As a reminder warning, the following EVP captures almost always came through at a very high bass sound. If you do not modify your personal settings to high treble sound and a lower bass, many of the EVPs cannot be understood. The phrase, "send me your bullet," refers to when a gang would mail a bullet to another gang's boss, indicating that he was stepping on their territory. In this example, the boss is telling whoever has been brought in, "Try me." In this capture scenario, the actors are all male with comparable pitch of voice. We could not tell who is who or possible status from the dialogue. You choose. Some proper names have been redacted. This timeline now becomes corrupted with a second timeline imprinted over it, consisting of higher pitched, louder voices. What sounds like a female can be heard humming in the background as though a radio is being played to hinder electronic eavesdropping. After comparing the audio rendering software, it was apparent that Adobe Audition had the best quality render and Audacity the least, which is a clear case of you get what you pay for. So, all things considered, what kind of paranormal rating would we give the Hotel Apache? Well, going back to our initial captures, which was basically we had a couple of cell sensors went off very briefly, and we had a REM pod go off each of one of the 2 days, which is our criteria, is that something has to happen at least once every day in order to be getting a rating at all. And we would have rated it as low but consistent. But then there was that odd sound in the room which woke both of us up and which we were unable to identify, at least initially. Even after working on and identifying the EVP murmurs at the Scottish Rite House of the Temple in Washington, D.C., we found this to be much more compelling. In fact, it took over a month of trial and error back and forth to be able to identify a voice pattern of 3 or 4 words, and it was in English. So we knew that we were on the right track. 3 months later, we had several complete sentences. That is how long it took in order to identify these sounds and figure out how to render them. I know there's going to be viewers who watch this and say to themselves, wow, that was a pretty elaborate job that he did of trying to convince people. He almost had me convinced. I know, because as you're watching the video, the only thing that you can see on the YouTube channel is inputted dialogue going by, and that's what I would say. So I'm going to reveal the inner workings of how we did these captures with an OBS screenshot. This is not going to reveal how we actually did the captures. That I'm keeping to myself. But it will give you enough clues as to how about getting started. Should you or someone you know have murmuring inside of your house and you want to know how to confront it or maybe even try to get rid of it. So this is an OBS screenshot. This is gaming software. This is also freeware that you can get. It's you can use it for many things, but mostly they'd like to see you just use it for games, which I don't do. Back here, down here, is the voices that have been captured and rendered out, and this is the first voice that we had. If you remember, it says I'm on the level. We'll start that. The phrase, "send me your bullet," refers to when a gang would mail a bullet to another gang's boss, indicating that he was stepping on their territory. So you can see from this scroll work that every one of these is a voice that we rendered out over a period of several months in order to complete this video. And here are the voices. That's an awful lot of stuff to go out of the way to fake. And we make zero revenue off of doing this. We do it because of a love for science, and we believe that this is science. It's unfound science. After discovering this murmur, what kind of a rating would we now give the Apache? We don't know. Most investigators don't even acknowledge that murmurs exist because they've never confronted one. Most paranormal investigators that I've been in contact with have never even heard of such thing as an EVP murmur. Those that have announce it as being a portal to hell. We're not a fan of portals. I personally think that's a little bit like cavemen believing that fire was a god. I do believe that a strong magnetic field, like the field that surrounds our Earth, is capable of capturing anything, even those old movies you watch on TV, and soundtracks of composers long deceased. After watching this video and how it was created, what rating would you give to the Apache? If you want more proof of EVP murmurs, subscribe to the channel and you'll be notified as soon as we post them.